Right? We must be in movement with each other. We must be in movement with the community in order to end this crisis. Okay. And in the tradition of movement, I want to start with a song. Okay? So I'm going to say, what side are we on, my people? What side are we on? And you're going to say, we're on the homeless side. Okay? Y'all ready? Very simple. Let's go. Get it. What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? The homeless side. What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? The homeless side. Y'all got it? Yeah. So what side are we on, my people? What side are we on? The homeless side. What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? The homeless side. What is a housing fighter? He's teaching us how to fight. We on the homeless side. We gonna fight all day and night till Cuomo gets it right. We on the homeless side. What side are we on, my people?
What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on?
Mike King is a housing fighter and he's teaching us how to fight. We gonna fight all day and night till Cuomo gets it right. We on the homeless side. What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? Somebody is a housing fighter and she's teaching us how to fight. We gonna fight all day and night till Cuomo gets it right. What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on?
Welcome everyone. Okay, as I was saying before, my name is Reginald Brown. This is Bobby Tolbert and Corey Bates. We're here from Oakland, New York, and from the Three-Quarter House Tenant Organizing Project. This afternoon, we'll be hearing from a diverse group of people who are committed to ending homelessness and other causes of poverty in our state. This group represents the homeless community: faith leaders, advocates fighting for criminal justice reform, leaders fighting for a fair economy, and much more. That's what it's going to take if we're going to get on track for ending this homeless crisis. Right now, New York State is experiencing the highest amount of homelessness that we've ever seen. Does anyone know how many people are homeless in New York State? 88,000 people.
Right.
88,000 people. Think about it. 88,000 people. And what are you? You jumped on my line. You jumped on my line. Do you think there are more or less than that? There are many, 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 many more, because we know that the people that are listed as homeless are those that are listed that are in shelters. There are people living that are living in housing, tripled up, doubled up, and in unstable housing. We know homelessness isn't the only crisis impacting our community. Income inequality continues to grow along with poverty. Our education system is wholly underfunded, and our criminal justice system, I like to call it the criminal injustice system, is broken and targets communities of people across the state. People who look like you and me. Isn't that interesting? It's the same old story, though. What's even scary is that the new president has promised to make things worse.
All right now.
Promise to make things worse. His management of Affordable Care Act of health care around the country will take away billions with a B, billions of dollars away from New York State. Without this federal funding, our state must find another way to end this crisis. Do you think our state has the resources to do this?
Yes.
Is there enough money in the state?
Yes.
In the pockets of billionaires?
Yes.
Millionaires?
Yes.
Developers?
Yes.
Wall Street?
Yes.
Corporations?
Yes.
That's right. I know that's right.
Robin Hood Paris. Robin Hood.
You want me to rap it, Bobby? Later. So why are we really here? And my name is Bobby Tolbert once again.
Yeah.
Is this just another town hall to talk together about what our communities need?
No.
This is a town hall to call out for our state legislature and our governor to put the priorities first for once and for all. We're here to directly hear from our legislators about what they're willing to do to fight for us. Now, Governor Cuomo is already exposed. We know that. He's broken so many promises for funding for supportive housing to homeless New Yorkers, and he's vetoed a bill that would give poor people across the state legal defense.
That ain't right. That's not right.
And he's working to privatize education. These are just a few examples that show how he's failing our communities. The more than 88,000 homeless people that we were talking about earlier is a moral indicator of what the state has been willing to do for our people. Today, we need for our legislators to stand up to our governor and demand investment in housing programs and homeless prevention services through progressive tax policies. Governor Cuomo is notorious for watering down progressive proposals. This time, we need to hear from our legislators that we won't accept anything less than what our communities need. So what do we want exactly?
Housing. Housing, affordable housing.
What else? Well, let me tell you, because there are 4 specific demands that we want from our governor. First, we want him to fully fund and create 20,000 units of supportive housing. And it breaks the cycle of homelessness by pairing permanent housing with on-site services for people with a history of substance abuse and or people with mental or physical health needs. Number 2, we need to fully fund the HSS program, that's Home Stability Support Program. This is a statewide rent supplement for low-income families and individuals who are facing eviction and homelessness or loss of housing due to domestic violence or hazardous conditions. You agree?
Yes.
All right. Number 3, we need to renew and increase funding for civil legal services to ensure that all New Yorkers have legal representation in housing court to prevent evictions and ensure homeless New Yorkers aren't discriminated against because of their source of income.
That's right.
I know there's quite a few people that have been facing that problem about source of income. And number 4, I know, we're going to do that with Robin. Provide rental assistance for low-income HIV-positive New Yorkers living outside of New York City through a $20 million pilot project or through the passage of legislation introduced by Senator Harlan and Assemblymember Hennessy.
Yes. All right.
The question is how do we get there exactly? My name is Corey Bates, once again. By investing in New York State when IDC is going to divest. Progressive tax policies are possible, but we need the political will necessary from our leaders to get there.
That's right.
Right now, billionaires, multimillionaires, Wall Street, and big corporations don't pay their fair share of taxes. And working people pay more than our share. With the right tax and budget policies, we could tackle homelessness, turn the tide on income inequality and poverty, ensure adequate legal representation for all poor New Yorkers, and invest in our future. 1, back the extend and expand millionaires tax. That's basically to capture explosive income gains amongst the super rich that's been proposed by Assembly Speaker Carl Heasley and Assembly Majority Conference. 2, close the carried interest loophole that only benefits hedge fund and private equity billionaires through state legislation introduced by Senator Klein and Assemblymember Albany. And lastly, 3, support the New York City mansion tax. Proposal to tax the sale of luxury condos and homes worth $2 million or more. These progressive tax policies will raise nearly $6 billion in new revenue to pay for critical housing and homelessness prevention programs, as well as address other root causes of poverty. State Assembly members, you've been with us. You supported higher tax on the rich, housing, legal services for the poor, and you've defined public education and health care. You can't back down now.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Homeless people need you more than ever. Senator Klein and the rest of IDC, you position yourself as a deciding factor of whether progressive politics win or lose in New York State. We need you to stand by us right now and demand leadership from Governor Cuomo and demand that he invest in New York State.
We have a long list of people that are going to be here tonight from different community organizations and some of our state elected officials who represent the Bronx. We want to get started by inviting representatives from some of the groups who are present to speak to us tonight. Our first speaker will be Mark Greenberg, Interfaith Assembly on Homelessness and Housing.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. It's great to see you all. What a great crowd. And what a great platform we've got. You know, I've only got a few minutes. I know we've got a lot of people to speak, but I wanted to, first I want to say that every single person who's homeless is a person who can't live a full life. It's a person who can't contribute to our community. And no one deserves to be in that position, and we don't need to be that way. People do not need to be homeless. We have to understand that this situation is man-made. It's not inevitable. And with the right policies, with the right commitment from our elected officials, homelessness should just be a matter of an emergency. Someone loses their home because of a job or because of a fire or a flood, they go into an emergency shelter and then they get back into housing, then they get a job. That's the way it's supposed to be. Homelessness is not supposed to be a long-term reality for people. Sadly, it is. And you know, we talked about the governor playing a part. Homelessness has increased by 41% since he's been in office.
Damn shame.
And he hasn't just been an innocent bystander.
No, he hasn't.
He's been largely responsible for not doing the right thing to help reduce homelessness. Some of you may remember we had something called the Advantage Program.
Yes.
Right? It was a program with the city and the state. And the governor decided he didn't want to continue the program. It was a $200 million a year program. The governor said, I don't want to continue it anymore. You're going to take my $100 million and go home. And then the Mayor Bloomberg said, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. Now, we fought the mayor for 11 months because people had contracts, had an agreement to pay their rent, to pay towards their rent. And we stopped him from cutting that money off for 11 months. But it was a limited program, so every month a certain amount of people would lose their one-year voucher. Over that time, homelessness increased by 10,000 in this city.
That ain't right.
The governor is fully responsible for that. He can't hide and say it wasn't me, it was him.
Yes,
He decided not to continue that subsidy. $100 million a year, we would have had 10,000 less people homeless in the city. The governor was responsible. Now, you know, the thing we have to keep in mind is the big elephant in the room, is that our state legislators count on big dollars, big funders to stay elected. In New York City, where we have a campaign matching fund, where every dollar you contribute up to $150 gets matched 7 to 1, in New York City, only 70% of the money comes from small donors. You and I can make a difference, unless we're going against a billionaire, which doesn't happen that often. But in New York State, only 7% of the money comes from small donors. If you've got a little bit of money, they don't even want to talk to you. It's all big bucks. It's legal, but it's immoral. That's the big thing that needs to change. We need to change the way campaigns in the state are financed. Until then, we've got to beat them with people power. Now, 7 years ago, we were looking to, you know, the rent laws get renewed every 4 or 5 or 6 years. And 7 years ago, it was time to renew the rent laws. The real estate lobby outspent the tenant lobby 200 to 1. And we still fought them to a tie. We don't need to have as much money as they do. We have the people. We got to show them that the voters, these are the votes in this room, right? They can't buy all of our votes. But we got to speak up. That's why I'm so happy that all of you are here. I see people who've been around for a while. I see young people. Listen, this is a long-term battle. You know, Section 8 was established as a result of legislation 50 years ago. We're benefiting from people who worked hard on our behalf who aren't around now. So when we build policy, we're not only doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for our future. We're building a more just society, even if we never get to see it, just like Moses saw the promised land but didn't get there. Some of us are like Moses, right? We got to work for the promised land, even if some of us don't get there. But our children, our grandchildren will get there. Now, you know, also, we win sometimes, right? It may take a while, but we win. When we convince the legislators to do the right thing, we win. Either we win or we get rid of them. Right? We got rid of a real bum and replace him with that gentleman over there. We knew he was a fraud. We knew he was a crook, but we got rid of him.
That's right.
It's hard, but it's possible. And you know, recently, Mayor de Blasio, as a result of 2.5 years of advocacy, finally made a commitment to provide free legal counsel to people in housing court up to 200% of poverty line, up to $50,000 a year. Over 40 years, everybody, every poor person in the city who's in housing court facing eviction will have a lawyer. You know what that means? A lot of the landlords won't even take them to court because they know they're going to lose if it's a fair fight. So we fought, we rallied, we pushed, and we finally convinced them it was the right thing to do because it's going to save money. They're going to save money because people aren't going to be in a shelter. They're going to stay in their own home. They're going to be able to live full lives. Their children will be able to go to school. They're going to be New Yorkers who can give back, which is what all these 88,000 people who are homeless need to be. They need to be New Yorkers who can give back to our city and our state. So we talked about a few issues. Let me mention one of them, which is this New York 4. You know, in the past, the last 3 mayors, last 3 or 4 mayors, Cuomo and Pataki and this guy, have participated in an agreement between New York City and New York State called the New York Agreement. There have been 4 of them, New York 1, 2, 3. But this mayor doesn't want to work with this governor. The mayors have worked together to build housing for the mentally ill. We've built 16,000 units for the mentally ill in the last 30 years. Right? Now the problem is every year 20,000 families qualify for supportive housing for people with special needs, but only 1 out of 6 get the housing because it's not there. Right? So we went to the mayor and we went to the governor with religious leaders, because I coordinate a coalition of religious leaders. We got 283 religious leaders statewide, including my friend over there who will be speaking in a little while from the New York State Council of Churches, signed a letter to the governor and the mayor saying, make a commitment to build 35,000 units for people who are mentally ill. And finally, we got them to make the commitment. The mayor committed 15,000, the governor committed 20,000. Then the governor and the state legislature put money for the first 6,000 in the budget. $2 billion. $1 billion for supportive housing, $1 billion affordable. What they do, they release $150 million of it. There's $1 billion sitting in the damn budget because they're playing politics with our lives. The reason they're not releasing the money, because the real estate community wants something called 421A, which is to give them tax breaks so they can build luxury housing and a little bit of affordable housing. They're not building 5,000 units for people who are most needy because they want their bucks in their back pocket, and that is immoral. We can't let that happen. We're saying to the governor, these things aren't going to have anything to do with each other. You're serving your masters who are paying your bills, and you're not serving the people who need you, who elected you. So we can't let that happen. And we're in front of the governor's New York City office every single Wednesday. This was our 29th Wednesday. Telling him, do the right thing. Sign that agreement, release that money. We're not going to give up because people need that housing. Then I just want to mention one other thing. And I see my friend is behind me, which means my time is limited. But we talked about this home stability support. Now you know, for the last 30 years, the money that people get on public assistance to pay their rent has been inadequate. You can't pay your rent on $410 a month. That's what a man gets. Find an apartment for $410 a month where you're not afraid for your life, where you don't have rats and cockroaches and the door doesn't lock, right? So, Assemblyman Hevesy has introduced a bill called Home Stability Support. It's getting a lot of support throughout the state legislature, Senate and Assembly. The governor hasn't said yet that he's opposed to it, because it would save lives, it would save money, keep people in their homes, for $1,200 a month instead of keeping them in a shelter for $3,500 a month. Right? I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. So we want to make this thing happen. No one is opposed to it. We just got to push it because this is our priority. This may not be his priority, but it's got to be our priority. So this could change. This be a game changer, and we need to push it. So with that, I'm going to leave. But I just want to say again, we are the people who make a difference. Our votes are what they need. Do not give up. It may take a long time, but we will win because we will not quit. Thank you very much.
You really do hit your heart from the citizens. Right now, I'm going to present the next speaker, Ramon Leclerc from New Alternatives for LGBT Homeless Youth.
Good afternoon. 9 years. 9 years I've been homeless, from aging out of foster care. And I'm sorry, I have to disagree with Mr. Greenberg, whatever his name is, said, because there is not everyone who's homeless does not give back. Because I held jobs while homeless. I went to school while homeless. So you can't tell me that's not giving back to the community and trying to make something out of yourself. So, I moved out of New York City for 6 months. I'm back because I ain't like it upstate. All right. But now I'm back in the shelter system. Because I can't afford $1,200 for rent. I'm looking for work now. And it's not fair. I have to sleep in a room where people come in, eight other men, in and out the room, smoking weed all night. I don't smoke. I can't take this shit. I got asthma. I can't deal with that. And does anyone really care? No, they don't. So, and doing my volunteer work with New Alternatives, I've seen so many other clients who've been through worse. But do these politicians really care? No, they don't. Talk. But you know what? We're not filling their pockets. So they don't care. Yeah. Oh, that's just a place. A multi-million-dollar place to live. Right.
Vote for the Greens.
So I'm getting a little emotional because of all of this. So I'm all in on ending homelessness. Because you know what? I'm sick of seeing people on the street because they're afraid to go into the shelter. There is one positive I can say come out of this, that this new LGBT DHS shelter, but it needs to not be controlled by DHS. They shouldn't have to go through the intake of DHS and have the possibility of discrimination, molestation against them and live in fear. We should not have to live in fear. Because even though we live in poverty, we're not hopeless. We're homeless, but not hopeless. Okay, thank you very much.
Very powerful statement, but we're not going to tag our electors until we know what they're going to do. Our next speaker is a longtime champion and a personal friend of mine on many different levels, organizationally, personally, and he's just a real important guy to have around. He's from the Strong Economy for All Coalition, and his name is Michael King.
Saints, I'm blessed to be with y'all today. This is the most important room in New York City. New York City has rooms full of bankers and hedge fund managers. New York City has rooms full of tech billionaires planning the future. New York City has powerful influence peddlers. But New York City has a homeless crisis. And as long as 88,000, probably 100,000 New Yorkers are flat out homeless, the most important place in New York City is a room where people are figuring out how to end that crisis and house those people. I worked for 13 years for Housing Works. I started working with Vocal when it was the AIDS housing network in New York City. I've been arrested with Vocal members. I've slept overnight with Vocal members. I have lived and breathed and fought with Vocal members. And Vocal is one of the most effective organizations in New York, because Vocal is taking people that the public sees as having no power and building power, and building influence, and building community, and building a moral and economic vision for where we're all going to get what we need together. So I'm here to talk about the money to pay for the plan that Vocal has to end the homeless crisis. Right? There is a plan, and the billionaires have the money to pay for it. The three specific points that were outlined in the revenue agenda that was up at the beginning of this meeting would raise billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars for human needs in New York. From people that can afford to pay it in a manner that would make the economy better. The economy is doing poorly, partially because the rich people have all the money. The American economy has done way better than it's doing right now, and at that point, regular people had more money, and insanely rich people had less money. New York has more rich people than anywhere else in the country. We have more millionaires, more multimillionaires, more billionaires than anywhere else in the United States of America. We have hundreds of people on the Forbes list of the 400 richest Americans. We have folks that have made $5 billion, billion with a B, in 1 year. All right? So when you talk about the millionaire's tax, right? The current millionaire's tax in New York was built to handle the economic situation of the 70s and 80s, right? Back when, you know, the Bronx was on fire, and back when, like, hip-hop hadn't even started yet, right? Like, that's what our tax structures are based on, right? There has been an explosion. Which one of these works? There has been an explosion of incomes at the very, very top, right? It's not just the 99% and the 1%. It's the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, where their income has exploded and everybody else has stayed the same or gone backwards, right? So what Speaker Hasty did in his millionaire's tax proposal is said, let's not just tax people that make $1 million every year, right? Let's have some higher brackets on the people that make $5 million every year, $10 million every year, $50 million every year, right? We could keep going. There's a few hundred people in New York that make hundreds of millions of dollars every year. I'm not saying we should take away all their money. Maybe we should. I don't know. That's how I'm trying to stay in the realm of reason here. But having fair share tax brackets that hit the people that can most afford to pay would raise money to house the 88,000 or 100,000 homeless people we have right now.
And wouldn't hurt their pocketbook a bit.
Not a bit, not a bit. They would actually do better, right? The homeless crisis costs a ton of money. All of y'all know that. If you lived in an SRO hotel, if you've got Medicaid bills and you see how fat they are when they come, you see people hospitalized $100,000 at a pop because they're homeless and they're not in stable housing and they don't have HIV meds or Hep C meds or stable treatment when folks get out of jail. You know how it is. Our state spends and wastes billions of dollars not housing homeless people. It's time to tax the people that can pay to make a better society for all of us. We got this carried interest loophole. We got these hedge fund managers and private equity managers, including that guy that made $5 billion in 1 year. They pay a lower tax rate than teachers and truck drivers. Carried interest loophole is a fancy way of saying a low tax rate for hedge fund private equity billionaires. And if we close that loophole at the state level, we raise billions to plow back into human needs. The mansion tax. Y'all have seen all the luxury condos. Y'all have seen housing that used to house a dozen families that now houses one family. You've seen lots where dozens and dozens of families used to live, and now a very small number of well-off people live there. A mansion tax on homes that sell for $1.5 million and more. Not 100% tax, a modest tax that they can afford to pay. Again, would raise billions. The Assembly's millionaires tax, the one that Speaker Hastie proposed, would raise $2.3 billion more every year than the one we have now.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
The carried interest loophole would raise $3.5 billion every single year. And the hedge fund managers wouldn't run away. We've got that proposal in New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. I'll be in Rhode Island next week. They're introducing it in Rhode Island. All the states where these guys want to be, state lawmakers like Gustavo Rivera, like Robert Rodriguez, like Carl Hastie, right? Members in both the upper houses and lower houses in those states have introduced legislation just like New York. And when we do the mansion tax, we may have some justice in our neighborhoods where the luxury condos and the luxury developments that are pushing people out of affordable housing are finally taxed to pay for housing for people that can't afford it.
That's right, yeah.
So we can talk in more detail if we need to, when we need to, but at the same time that Vocal is coming up with a strong, competent plan to end the homeless crisis, Vocal is coming up with a strong, competent way to pay for that. It's not irresponsible. The money comes from people that can afford to pay, and the state is going to do better in the short, medium, and long term. In the short term, because we'll be doing right by our people, and in the medium and long term, we'll stop wasting money on emergency housing, on SRO hotels, on unnecessary Medicaid, Medicare bills, and people will have better lives for it. All of New York will be in a better place if we end the homeless crisis. Right. So I'm good to go. If you guys want to go on to the next person, thank you for having me here today.
What side are we on?
Hello, folks. First things first, where the boogie down at? Where the boogie down at? I don't know that song. I gotta learn it. But I like it. I like it. My name is Gustavo Rivera. I'm a state senator in the 33rd district, right here in the boogie down Bronx. I see many friends in the room, and I bring greetings and say hello to all of you. I will start by doing something that I did, something very similar. If you went up to Albany, and many of you have been up there already, then you've heard this already, but I'm going to repeat it because it is necessary. You've been many times, but I don't know if you've been there recently. When the last time that y'all were there, I probably told you about the fact that the strange times that we are living in, which I call the orange madness. Because I refuse to refer to it or him by any other name. I call it the orange madness. And in this orange madness that we find ourselves in, it is so strange a time that I find myself quoting Jerry Springer back at you. Y'all remember this? For those of you that did not. As you remember, if you remember Jerry Springer, in every show, regardless of how crazy it was, right, people were punching and doing all sorts of stuff. At the end of each show, he would get on a stool in his set, and the final thought come down, and then there would be a slow zoom, and he would call it the parting thought. And the parting thought, he would talk about the lesson that we learned that day. And at the end, he would say the same phrase, exactly the same phrase every single time. He'd say, take care of yourself. And each other. And the strange times that we're living in is that I'm quoting Jerry Springer back to you in a positive way. That is how crazy this orange madness is. But in this time, this is exactly the place that I want to be. Because whether we have air conditioning in here or not, and I tell us to turn it up, man, turn up the air conditioner. It is exactly the place where I want to be, because the gentleman that spoke before, a couple of people that spoke before, they got it exactly right. The reason I have always been a fan of you folks, and I've always been a fan of Volker, is precisely because they educate individuals about how to influence policymakers, and then you put yourself in the front lines, and you push the folks to do the right thing. Which is why, regardless, I will always welcome you up in Albany, welcome you in my office. My house ain't that big, so I can't fit all of you. But every, couple at a time, maybe. But just the work that y'all do is so incredibly important, and as it relates to this issue, we have to do the right thing. Now, the folks before me have already laid it out for you, and many folks in this room, matter of fact, everyone in this room, because even though you might not personally experience homelessness, because you are in this room, you know somebody who has, or you have done advocacy on behalf of folks that have found themselves in this situation. So I don't have to tell you about the situations that folks that are homeless find themselves in. What I will have to what I have to ask my colleagues to sometimes remember, and again, y'all know this because y'all educated on the subject, this actually costs us so much more money as a state and as a country than if we just did the right thing and make sure that the basic right of homes, that the basic rights of somewhere for someone to live, we abide by that. And so we have to remind some of my colleagues. So I'm here both to tell you that I'm fully supportive, but to give you a couple of targets. Right? So you get your pen out. Although I guarantee you that you already know these targets. So I'm just going to say it real quick again for the record. First of all, we have to make sure, since we're talking about the state budget is happening right now. Now, many of you have been to Albany already, so you know about the process that's ongoing right now. And we're trying to make sure that the right thing happens at the budget level, but it is difficult sometimes. Because currently, and this is a key thing that many in this room understand and many folks out there don't, but I'm going to ask you to help me to explain it to the folks out there. Unfortunately, the Republicans are in the majority in the Senate because they have been facilitated by somebody that's also in that room, in that big building over there, but by a couple of my colleagues who have chosen to sit with the Republican Congress. We don't. You don't like them. Imagine. If we were in the majority, I would be the chair of the Health Committee in the Senate. You think that would make a difference as far as the issue that we care about? So I would ask you to make sure that we put pressure on those individuals, because they say that the reason they did it is because they want to get things done. Right? And my argument would be, once you look at what they have been able to achieve, what they get is half measures and things that are not exactly what we are asking for, or more importantly, what we need. So on issues of homelessness, there are a couple of basic policy areas that you already discussed. Whether we're talking about the taxes that Michael laid out as far as how to pay for it, whether we're talking about the commitment that the state and the city have to make and recommit themselves to as far as to both affordable housing and supportive housing, right? And also to make sure that people stay in their homes. There's some money that we can have there so people are not, that are homeowners don't lose their homes, right? So all these things together can happen as long as we keep the pressure up. We can pay for them because these taxes that Mike spoke about are about a very basic thing. Do we live in a society, yes or no? Yes. Do we have a responsibility to each other, yes or no? Yes. So in the same way, if you have been, anybody that makes $5 billion in 1 year, that individual did not do that thing by themselves. They can tell themselves they did. But if the rest of us weren't here, that wouldn't have had to happen.
They robbed somebody.
Well, the system might have something there. They might have robbed somebody. I don't know. But bottom line is this. I believe that the pressure that is happening right now is of a particular nature. The work that you folks have been doing, many people that weren't doing the type of pushing that you're doing are all of a sudden doing it as well. They recognize, when we went to that Women's March, and I'm sure that many of you were there, either in DC or here, you saw millions of people on the street, many of them that were not as engaged just a few months before. We have to make sure that we take that energy and we continue to push. Yes, applaud that. And the push needs to be specific, which is again why I'm so supportive of the work that you do, because you provide specific policy areas. You're not doing some general kind of crazy, we want all these different things. When you say in homelessness, you say that, but then you say, let me tell you how we do it. And you go area by area, these are the policy issues that we have to push. And all of them, you all know what they are, right? And we've talked about them here, and we will talk about them some more in the next couple of weeks. The bottom line, was that?
Can you repeat that?
I have the list to make sure I don't forget, my brother. Hold on.
I got the list right there.
Yes, you got the list right there. Fully fund and create 20,000 units of supportive housing. Renew and increase funding for civil legal services to ensure all New Yorkers have legal representation in housing court. Provide rental assistance for low-income HIV-positive New Yorkers living outside of New York City as well. Right? And ultimately, support the New York City mansion tax, the tax to sell luxury condos, and back and expand the millionaire's tax that we talked about before. So that's the list, brother. Did you write it down? You got it? You just want to make sure I knew it. You're right. You want to make sure. It was a good check. But I am, and I want to make sure that I will finish with this, because I could talk to my friends all day. But this is why it's important. This is why I'm always happy to be around you folks. I'm happy to be around you folks because the energy that you bring energizes me. There are many struggles that we have to fight for. There's many things that we have to fight for. This is just the latest one. And the fact is that regardless of how many good things I want to do, I cannot do it without your help. And regardless of how many good things y'all want to achieve, y'all can't do it without folks like myself. So we're going to continue this relationship. We're going to continue this partnership. We're going to continue this brother and sister act that we are doing here. I thank you for the work that you do. I will always be with you. Long live Vocal. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And I ain't leaving. I'm going to hang out. My name, my number.
Just when you think things are incorrigible, you have Senator Rivera to give some very impactful words. It's my second encounter with him, and I felt like he boosted my morale. Right now, I'm going to present Juan Antigua from Working Families Party and Gary's Gordon, Citizen Action of New York.
afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm a little tall, so you're gonna have to forgive me. Again, my name is Darius Gordon. I'm the lead organizer for a nonprofit called Citizen Action of New York. We fight for environmental, economic, racial, and social justice. And it is my pleasure to work with Vocal. If one of our issues is racial issues, where most of the people who are homeless are black and brown, how is it not that we take this issue on? When this issue is an economic issue where the billionaires that Michael King has talked about have all the money and we need to tax them, they are getting away with murder. How is it not an economic issue that we're taking on? When it comes to just the fact that 88,000 plus New Yorkers, this is just New York alone, are homeless, how is this not a social issue? And when our folks are in the streets and they don't have a roof over their heads and shelters to provide for themselves and their families, this is definitely an environmental issue. We got to make sure that we provide for them. I just want to say that we support this. Juan is going to go more into the thick of things, but I love you all. I've worked with many of you all in some form or facet. Not that you all know, but Jason and I actually grew up in DC together. We attended the same church when we were like 3 years old, so I've known him for a while. So I love all you, and I look forward to working in this process with you.
I think you guys figured that out at an interview that we were doing with WFP. Good afternoon, everyone. Which side are you on, my people? We are on the side. So are we. So my name is Juan Antingo. I'm the New York City Political Director for the Working Families Party.
Yeah, WFP!
Thank you. We are a coalition of labor and community groups and members of our party, including folks from Vocal, Citizen Action, CVH Power, and Make the Road New York and NYCC, and a couple others. And we're here to say that we strongly support this initiative. We will work with you to urge our legislators and to work with those legislators that are with us to make sure that we pass these progressive tax policies on the state level. Right? We want to make sure we pass the millionaire's tax. We want to make sure we expand the millionaire's tax. We want to also make sure we pass the mansion tax, and that we close the carried interest loophole. Right? So thank you all so much.
The beauty of hosting an event such as this is that we all know each other through maybe 3 degrees of separation instead of 6 degrees. So we're like a real close, tight-knit family, and I have worked with each and every one of the people that have been up here at one time or another. So the next pair that I'm going to bring up here are a couple of other allies. I have Jermaine Abdullah from Picture the Homeless, and Laura Chase from Community Voices Heard. I'm sorry. I don't want to make jokes.
Assalamu alaikum.
My name is Laura Case. I am a leader of Community Voices Heard's PAP, or Homeless Are People Too Committee. We are a Yonkers group of homeless and formerly homeless people fighting to improve our quality of life. Oh, there we go, I'm sorry. I am homeless myself, and I'm here this afternoon to stand in support of the End Homelessness agenda. The way my community is living must no longer be tolerated. After New York City, Westchester has the 2nd highest percentage of homelessness in New York State. Some of us stay in residential shelters, but many of us only stay at drop-ins, which are only open at night. The place that I stay closes at 5 in the morning.
Right?
No, it's not. And many of us have to wander the city with nowhere to go. The men who stay where I stay, they don't have showers for them there. So they have to walk over 1.5 miles to a city-run bathhouse just to be able to bathe. It is not right at all. And our drop-ins don't serve breakfast and dinner. On some days of the week, we only have one meal. There is a drop-in in New Rochelle that has been rated by the state controller to be one of the 26 worst shelters in New York State. It is infested with bed bugs and roaches. It is not safe, yet it continues to operate with impunity.
It ain't right.
It is not right, no. And as all of this goes on, our county has empty beds in its residential shelters, yet members of my community report being turned away from them by social services. Anyone who does make it to one of our shelters, and it's like this for most of the state, it's set for New York City, has to give up their entire income, their work, their retirement, anything they make, just to have a roof over their head. This is wrong, and it needs to change. I support the End Homelessness agenda because it takes important steps towards fixing what is broken. In Westchester, some of the homeless are given $590 in temporary assistance a month to find housing. But that's not enough to even find an illegal room where I live. And while it needs to be fleshed out, home stability support has the potential to change my community's lives. I support the agenda's tax increases because Westchester is one of the wealthiest counties in the state. Despite all the fact that all of us are homeless there, and the fact that we are homeless in such a wealthy place is simply unacceptable. It is time for the wealthy to share with their neighbors. Finally, I support the End Homelessness agenda because supportive housing will help people with special challenges, like my blind friend who stays at the drop-in and has to wander the city with us every day. Albany needs to enact this agenda and other reforms which are so desperately needed. The homeless are people too, and it is time for us to be treated with dignity and respect.
I currently work 2 jobs. I have a Link 5 voucher, which is really worthless because a lot of landlords aren't accepting it. And there's laws that's supposed to prevent this, but they're not being enforced. I work 2 jobs, like I said. I'm originally from the Bronx, East Tremont, West Farms area, but currently I reside on Ward's Island. I'm in a shelter.
That ain't right.
It's definitely not right. I'm a member of CB11, Community Board 11, and I'm also a member of PTH. At Picture the Homeless, we organize homeless and formerly homeless people to fight for social justice. Particularly, we fight back against the root causes of homelessness, such as speculation and pursuit of profit over human needs. We support all the objectives and goals that are laid out, including building more supportive, emphasis on building more supportive housing and increased funding for legal services. Also with more emphasis on support the millionaires tax to capture home gains among the super rich, and the mansion tax that would tax the sale of luxury condos and homes worth $2 million or more. These progressive taxes would create $6 billion in revenue and could help fund critical housing programs for those left out of the market right now who simply do not make enough, like CLTs, community land trust. CLTs is community land trust,
That's right.
which takes land out of the speculative market and it creates deeply, well, I don't even like saying affordable, because affordable is not affordable to low-income earners. It creates low-income housing, permanent low-income housing, community land trust. Many people have been, also, I have questions for state electeds. Many people who have been formerly incarcerated cannot get housing and end up on Ward's Island or other shelters in New York City. And mostly, I emphasize East Harlem and Ward's Island is in East Harlem, is in that district, because we have such a high concentration of shelters and mental institutions.
Right, together.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
Right.
What will they do? What will the state electeds do? What will you do to better enforce existing laws that prevent this kind of discrimination and also create housing options that do not discriminate against these people? Also, my other question is, $6 billion can fund a lot of amazing housing opportunities. Here in New York City, we're trying to spread these community land trusts, which, like I said, take land out of the speculative housing market and can facilitate deeply affordable, low-income housing options. What will you do to ensure that this happens? We need these taxes, we need this money, we need housing. And here at PTH, in closing, here at PTH, we don't believe that it's a homeless crisis. We believe it's a housing crisis. With all these vacant lots and vacant buildings that New York City owns, some of them owned for 50 years or more, and they have not done anything with them. They just sit on them or sell it to the highest, to profit, for-profit developers. We need them to do something with these lots, and they can create. It costs approximately $3,000 a month for one individual in the shelter. That's not the families in special needs. One individual. They can deplete the shelter system and use these vacant lots and vacant properties to build permanent low-income housing. It's been proven. We have a game ground proposal which was submitted to the mayor, who's not doing anything with it. And this was, but the reason why they're not doing it is because there's no money in it for them. It's got to take money out of a lot of people's pockets. Shelters is a big money-making business, and they don't want to end it. They were supposed to stop hotels, the shelter hotels. They're increasing them. They're not stopping anything. Money. It's all about money. Thank you.
How good we are. You know, we thank you for love, but it's not about us. It's about all of us working together. So don't think that we think it's about us, because it's not. We realize that we're not nearly as strong as we are when we're all together. So you keep hearing vocal, but it's not about us. Right? It's not just about us. It's about all of us, because all of us have to take ownership of this. I just wanted to get that straight, because I keep hearing that a lot. And like, yeah, you know, we like it. We like the love, but the point is, we share the love. That's right. Okay, we're going to bring up now Laura from, Maria Batista from the AQE, and Delcina from Tenants and Neighbors.
Is this one? Okay, I really like that song. What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on? Yes. My name is Alcidia Glover, and I'm with Tenants and Neighbors, and I am honored, proud, and I am honored to stand with the folks in Vocal. We've been working with this organization, on various issues for a long time now. I remember when Jaron Benjamin was a part of Vocal, and I have a long relationship with him also. We stand here to fully support Vocal's platform. What my work is about is preserving affordable housing and helping people stay in their homes. And, you know, one of the things, I don't know how much I can add to all of the information and facts that have already been given here today, but one of the things that always strikes me is when you talk to elected officials, or when elected officials talk about homelessness, they seem like they're mystified by it. It ain't that deep. People are homeless because they can't afford to pay their rent because of the price of escalating rents, or because they've had some issue in their lives that made them unable to keep their apartment. That's right. So, and, you know, it's one of the things, and also one of the things that we like to talk about a lot, and it's been talked about a lot today, is, you know, the rot comes from the head of the fish. We have 88,000 people sleeping on the streets or in a homeless shelter here in New York City. And what is Governor Cuomo doing about it? Governor Cuomo's signature plan this year is to push through 421A tax abatement by hook or by crook. And there's no defense or justification for Albany to revive a program that will give billions of dollars of tax breaks to developers to build market rate housing. Do you know that 421A is what made Donald Trump rich? So if this is Governor Cuomo's signature plan, do we compare him to Trump? He may not be getting rich himself, but the folks who are lining his pockets or the pockets of his campaign are getting really, really rich. And our people in the city, our people in Westchester and all across New York are sleeping in shelters. This is what you call morally bankrupt policy. So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, and but I'm going to make this really short and sweet. I have two things. I have two suggestions for Governor Cuomo. Number one, take your hands out of the pockets of developers and do the right thing for the citizens of this city. The people, and I'm a downstate kind of girl, so I don't mind talking about downstate. The downstate people are the people who put your butt in office. Do the right thing for the people who elected you. And the other thing is, and I know you guys already have a policy about this. I'm sorry, I'm talking into both mics? Oh, I have to talk into both mics. Y'all just telling me this now, I'm almost finished. And my last point and my last solution, and it's really very simple. Instead of spending thousands of dollars to house people in homeless shelters, pay the damn rent before they get out of housing. It ain't that deep. Thank you.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, beautiful people. So I just want to start with saying that you are the soul of our state. And you are making New York State more human. Amen. And you are helping Albany find its moral compass because they done lost it. They might not ever have had it to begin with. 1 out of 8, I'm going to say it again, 1 out of 8 New York City public students is homeless or is living in transitional housing. 1 out of 8. And this is criminal. 105,000, over 105,000 children during the past 5 years have been homeless or have lived in temporary housing. To put that into perspective, the combined school seats in Boston and Seattle is about 107,000. Homeless students were chronically absent, had high rates of mid-year transfers, and they also had lower rates of meeting grade proficiencies. And so what does that tell us? That children that are homeless can't learn or struggle through their learning. In one school in Highbridge, just a couple of train stops, a bus ride away from here, 47% of students are homeless. 47%. In District 9 and 10 here in the Bronx, they have the highest percentage of all districts of children living in shelters or that are homeless. I'm also going to say that we stand here in solidarity. We work on education, but we know that children that are living in homeless shelters, they have a hard time learning because they're thinking about, where am I going to sleep tonight? And so we also say, tax the rich to end homelessness. Tax the rich to end homelessness. Tax the rich to end homelessness.
So are our next two speakers.
Okay.
And they are Judith DeFore Howard from New York Communities of Change and the Reverend Peter Cook from the New York State Council of Churches.
Hello. It is so good that we can hold hands when we're in need. I'm Judith DeFore Howard, a veteran educator, representative of New York Community for Change. And I've sat and listened to the past speakers speak and have identified with most of the things that they've said. Anyway, I just want to let me put you into a little trance for now, and then I'll move on. Imagine you had $25,000 to donate, and you walk into the situation room, and in that room, in one corner, you saw a businessman sitting sheepily, and in the other corner, you saw a hard-working homeless family. Which corner would you deposit your donation?
To the homeless family.
While you think about this, and maybe you don't even have to take much time, I just focus on a bit of statistics that I picked up according to the Coalition for Homelessness. And they do correlate with most of the statistics that I've heard. But in December 2016, a few months ago, it was observed, or it was noted, that there were 62,674 homeless persons in that month alone in housing situations, in shelter situations. Included in that 63,000, there were 15,856 homeless families with 24,076 homeless children. I remember as a teacher in the school, I heard through whispers, oh, she is in a homeless house. Oh, he isn't. And I looked at those little children and I really said, you know something? I noticed something about them, but I didn't know what. And they became my favorites even more at that point in time. Because no child should have to be thinking about what time should I get in, and what would I eat, and would I have light to do my homework. Now, over the course of the year 2016, the Coalition for Homeless picked up not 88,000, a little bit more than that. They picked up 127,654 people passing through the shelter system. Might be different men and women, but that is a mighty number for people having issues with not having a roof over their head. And you know what is even worse than that? 45,000 of those people were children. Children. I have seen little ones coming out of shelters, little people, school children, all kinds of children coming. Why is the government, especially through their gatekeepers like Cuomo, not do something about that? It is a shame. Oftentimes they're so often generous or over generous to the wealthy, and yet they're so less generous and sympathetic to the less fortunate. In Albany right now, the talk is that we want to bring back 21A. Yes, they want to bring it back. It has been out of focus, out of functioning for 2 years now. But don't you know, if that does not come to pass, we can have, added to that $6 billion I hear people talking about, $2 billion more dollars. Because that's what that tax break gives them, gives the developers every year. I'm talking about every year. $2 million is programmed.
That's what it's going to take if we're going to get on track for ending this homeless crisis. Right now, New York State is experiencing the highest amount of homelessness that we've ever seen. Does anyone know how many people are homeless in New York State? 88,000 people. Right. 88,000 people. 88,000 people. And what are you jumped on my line. He jumped on my line. Do you think there are more or less than that? There are many more, because we know that the people that are listed as homeless are those that are listed that are in shelters. There are people living in housing, tripled up, doubled up, and in unstable housing. We know homelessness isn't the only crisis impacting our community. Income inequality continues to grow along with poverty. Our education system is wholly underfunded, and our criminal justice system, I like to call it the criminal injustice system, is broken and targets communities of people across the state. People look like you and me. Isn't that interesting? It's the same old story, though. What's even scary is that the new president has promised to make things worse.
All right,
He promised to make things worse. His plan to dismantle Affordable Care Act of health care around the country will take away billions with a B, billions of dollars away from New York State. Without this federal funding, our state must find another way to end this crisis. Do you think our state has the resources to do it?
Yes.
Is there enough money in the state?
Yes.
In the pockets of billionaires?
Yes.
Millionaires?
Yes.
Developers?
Yes.
Wall Street?
Yes.
Corporations?
Yes.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
Robin Hood.
You want me to wrap it by you? Later. So why are we really here? And my name is Bobby Talbot once again.
Yeah.
Is this just another town hall to talk together about what our communities need?
No.
This is a town hall to call out for our state legislature and our governor to put the priorities first for once and for all. We're here to directly hear from our legislators about what they're willing to do to fight for us. Now, Governor Cuomo is already exposed. We know that. He's broken so many promises for funding for supportive housing to homeless New Yorkers, and he's vetoed a bill that would give poor people across the state legal defense.
That ain't right. That's not right.
And he's working to privatize education. These are just a few examples that show how he's failing our communities. The more than 88,000 homeless people that we were talking about earlier is a moral indicator of what the state has been willing to do for our people. Today, we need for our legislators to stand up to our governor and demand investment in housing programs and homeless prevention services through progressive tax policies. Governor Cuomo is notorious for watering down progressive proposals. This time, we need to hear from our legislators that we won't accept anything less than what our communities need. So what do we want exactly?
Housing. Housing, affordable housing.
What else? Well, let me tell you, because there are 4 specific demands that we want from our governor. First, we want him to fully fund and create 20,000 units of supportive housing. And it breaks the cycle of homelessness by pairing permanent housing with on-site services for people with a history of substance abuse and or people with mental or physical health needs. Number 2, we need to fully fund the HSS program, that's Home Stability Support Program. This is a statewide rent supplement for low-income families and individuals who are facing eviction and homelessness or loss of housing due to domestic violence or hazardous conditions. You agree?
Yes.
All right. Number 3, we need to renew and increase funding for civil legal services to ensure that all New Yorkers have legal representation in housing court to prevent evictions and ensure homeless New Yorkers aren't discriminated against because of their source of income.
That's right.
I know there's quite a few people that have been facing that problem about source of income. And number 4, I know, we're gonna do that with Robin. Provide rental assistance for low-income HIV-positive New Yorkers living outside of New York City through a $20 million pilot project or through the passage of legislation introduced by Senator Harlan and Assemblymember Hennessy.
Yes. All right.
The question is how do we get there exactly? My name is Corey Bates, once again. By investing in New York State, when IDC is going to divest. Progressive tax policies are possible, but we need the political will necessary from our leaders to get there.
That's right.
Right now, billionaires, multimillionaires, Wall Street, and big corporations don't pay their fair share of taxes. And working people pay more than our share. With the right tax and budget policies, we could tackle homelessness, turn the tide on income inequality and poverty, ensure adequate legal representation for all poor New Yorkers, and invest in our future. 1, back the extend and expand millionaires tax. That's basically to capture explosive income gains amongst the super rich that's been proposed by Assembly Speaker Carl Heasley and Assembly Majority Conference. 2, close the carried interest loophole that only benefits hedge fund and private equity billionaires through state legislation introduced by Senator Klein and Assemblymember Albany. And lastly, 3, support the New York City mansion tax. Proposal to tax the sale of luxury condos and homes worth $2 million or more. These progressive tax policies will raise nearly $6 billion in new revenue to pay for critical housing and homelessness prevention programs, as well as address other root causes of poverty. State Assembly members, you've been with us. You supported higher tax on the rich, housing, legal services for the poor, and you've defined public education and health care. You can't back down now.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Homeless people need you more than ever. Senator Klein and the rest of IDC, you position yourself as a deciding factor of whether progressive politics win or lose in New York State. We need you to stand by us right now and demand leadership from Governor Cuomo and demand that he invest in New York State.
People that are going to be here tonight from different community organizations and some of our state elected officials who represent the Bronx. We want to get started by inviting representatives from some of the groups who are present to speak to us tonight. Our first speaker will be Mark Greenberg, Interfaith Assembly on Homelessness and Housing.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. It's great to see you all. What a great crowd. And what a great platform we've got. You know, I only got a few minutes. I know we've got a lot of people to speak, but I wanted to, first I want to say that every single person who's homeless is a person who can't live a full life. It's a person who can't contribute to our community. And no one deserves to be in that position, and we don't need to be that way. People do not need to be homeless. We have to understand that this situation is man-made. It's not inevitable. And with the right policies, with the right commitment from our elected officials, homelessness should just be a matter of an emergency. Someone loses their home because of a job or because of a fire or a flood, they go into an emergency shelter and then they get back into housing, then they get a job. That's the way it's supposed to be. Homelessness is not supposed to be a long-term reality for people. Sadly, it is.
All right.
And you know, we talked about the governor playing a part. Homelessness has increased by 41% since he's been in office.
Damn shame.
And he hasn't just been an innocent bystander.
No, he hasn't.
He's been largely responsible for not doing the right thing to help reduce homelessness. Some of you may remember we had something called the Advantage Program. Right? It was a program with the city and the state. And the governor decided he didn't want to continue the program. It was a $200 million a year program. The governor said, I don't want to continue it anymore. You're going to take my $100 million to go home. And then the Mayor Bloomberg said, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. Now, we fought the mayor for 11 months because people had contracts, had an agreement to pay their rent. to pay towards their rent, and we stopped him from cutting that money off for 11 months. But it was a limited program, so every month a certain amount of people would lose their one-year voucher.
People hand over all sorts of things that, in my opinion, are just ethically and morally wrong. Housing is a right, and we're here because we want to demand that right. Thank you all for your work.
Hello, my name is Jose. I'm one of those that are homeless, and right now I'm living in a shelter, which is the most terrible thing to do. I support Vocal very much. Anywhere they go, I go with them because you know what they're doing is for us. You know, because we shouldn't be in the street. Why should the rich get rich and we just stay poor and have no place to live? You know? Governor Cuomo should know to let go of that money that he has. I support him very much. I support Vocal very much. And it's not easy to live in the street, and it's not. You know. And anybody that's out there shouldn't be like that. You know? I can't say too much because it's bad, but I tell you one thing, I support very much. I support very much. I can't, I'm too short. Like I said, I support very much being around the government because Governor Cuomo, he's got to let it loose. He got to let that money go. Right. We don't want to, but he's got to let it go. We're going to fight to see if we can get it. You know? It's our money. I think if we're getting paid for watching the rich give us the money, you understand? They're getting richer? No, don't work like that. Woo! Thank you. My name is Jose. Thank you very much.
So, we kind of saved the ringer for last. Our very own. This young organizer has came to Vocal on a fellowship from Queerocracy, and he hit the ground running, and he's been running ever since. He hasn't stopped. He's been working all night, taking pictures, putting things together, and doing everything to make this a successful event here. So let me present to you right now Mr. Jawanza Williams.
Hi, thank you all so much for coming here today. I know it's hot as hell in here, but we're winding down. This is Latifa, who's like a Fierce member and a Queerocracy member. But I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that we talk about every day at the Vocal New York office. One, we recognize the need for us to build political power in coalition. So for every person and every organization that's here, like Picture the Homeless, AQE, Citizen Action, and other folks who are in the space, we deeply appreciate that because we recognize that we cannot and will not ever be able to build enough power to end homelessness by ourselves. So thank you for that. I also want to say something else. The second thing that comes up a lot in the office is that where a state spends its money, how it distributes its wealth, that it gets from the people, which are us, even those of us who are homeless, right? Like, that money is reflective of what they care about, of who they care about, right? So, as an LGBTQ youth organizer, I focus primarily on like, well, what are the needs, what are the experiences of LGBTQ young people in New York City who are experiencing homelessness, like what do they need? And we didn't talk a lot about that today, but all of these things are deeply connected. Because if we generate the kind of revenue that we need from these progressive taxes, we will start to see like effects that we aren't even able to articulate. There will be traumas avoided that we'll never know, right? Because homelessness is different for every person, and it is incredibly violent, right? And for an LGBTQ person, a young person of color living in New York City, we are in a situation where the state and the city has ultimately condemned us to poverty because we basically have a pipeline from youth homelessness to adult homelessness, and we see that the homelessness crisis is ongoing and increasing. So we need to continue to come to spaces like this, continue to come out, and to continue to push the governor and all of the elected officials and ourselves to show up to build the political power that we need to really make sure that these folks do what they should do. Governor Cuomo said recently, in response to all of our work, that we're gonna run away the billionaires, we're gonna run away the millionaires, it's gonna hurt New York. Well, get the fuck out.
What side are we on? What side are we on, my people? What side are we on?
So, we heard from a lot of different organizations and some of our elected officials, but there's others that we haven't heard from. And like Jawanza was saying, we need to get in contact with those people so if he has to volunteer later on, let's do that. So, we are demanding that New York State reinvest in its people and reinvest in communities of homeless people and other systemic problems that are stifling our families, our friends, and our neighbors. Our state legislators will be in Albany for the next month and a half. And we expect to be there with them for that next month and a half. We can't do this without you. We expect you to be in Albany with us for the next month and a half, doing what we have to do to make sure that we can end homelessness in New York as you see it now. Now, negotiations end in the last week of March. Between now and then, we have an aggressive plan to make sure we get to the resources we need to make sure Albany hears us. And we won't get what we need unless you are involved in this fight. So, on March 13th, we're hosting a major rally outside of the Governor Cuomo's office. There are people in this fight that are prepared to block the road on 3rd Avenue and 41st Street. All right, so this is going to be a major rally. We've been in front of the governor's office. What did Remerck say, like 29 weeks now? 29 weeks? What time? It's going to be 12 noon. We're going to be in front of the governor's office, and this time, we're going to get some results. We're not going to let him hand it off to somebody else and say it's somebody else's problem. We want him to take ownership of this right now and get some results right now. So we need a large mobilization of people there. It's going to be a CD, it's going to be a civil disobedience, so we're going to block off 3rd Avenue. Shut it down! And we're going to shut it down. If we can't get it, we shut it down. So on March 13th, there will be no business as usual. Also, on March 27th, we are organizing a mass mobilization, this time in Albany. We'll be taking buses from Union Square. Please see the flyers you picked up at the door for the information. And beside that, I know Elizabeth Owens' phone bankers will be on the case. They'll be calling you very soon. Also, for that action, we are looking for 88 people to get arrested to represent the 88,000 homeless people of New York. That's right. That's right. So, if you have a clear record for now and you can get arrested, it's simply a civil disobedience. It's a minor charge. It's not even a charge. But you'll be out. Last time I got arrested in Albany, I got out in 45 minutes. All right? Nothing. 45 minutes. Yeah, it was kind of like that now. So we need your support on that again. The phone bankers from Vocal will be on the case. They will be giving you calls, plus you have the information on the flyers you have here. I'm going to turn it over to my brother Reginald Brown so we can get out of here, all right?
Lastly, my name is Corey Bates. I want to say you all were fantastic. And the flyer that Bobby talked about, do you all have it with you? Is it in close proximity? Did you sit on it by any chance? If so, flyer. 88K, correct. If so, can you hold it up? I'll show of hands, please. please, you can show up when numbers really count, so I'm really counting on you all, 3/4, all of you, if you can, please, let's make history.
That's right, that's right. I need you now to hold up your signs. Hold up these signs, we're going to take a photo. Hold up these signs so we can make a photo. This guy's going to be a photo opportunity. So hold up these signs so we got our message out. Everybody in the room should have one. All over the room. Lift up your signs, please. You're either sitting on them. Pick up your signs, we're going to take a picture. Because we're sending a message. We're sending a message. This is a visual message. This is a visual message that we mean business. We mean business. If you deserve a place to live, you hold up the sign. Yeah. And if you don't, somebody else does, that's a human. All right. This is it. Because we want the world to know. We're putting him on notice. We're not playing. This is our lives that we're talking about. We're not playing. We're serious. You know, he's been sitting on that $2 billion since last January. I talked about this before. Yet he gives tax breaks to people with yachts, helicopters, and jets. That just pisses me the fuck off. That's just not right.
That ain't right.
So if we don't go up there with that kind of anger and determination, guess what? You're going to just push it down the road, and I say, hell to the no.
Hell to the no.
It stops down.
All right, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for being here. The moments are important for a number of reasons. We're building. Thank you. We're building a movement together. We're building a movement together. All of these organizations are building a movement together. We're going to pressure Governor Cuomo and others who haven't prioritized this fight. This does not end today. In fact, it won't end until low-income people aren't left behind any longer. One night. Thank you for attention, and thank you for your attention, and thank you for being here tonight. And also, we want to let the elected officials know that if you are not for us, you are against us.
All right.
There's no middle ground. So either you are for us, you are against us. If you are for us, we will support you. If you're not, we will kick your butt out because you work for us. We have to remember that. You work for us. All right? So, we need 88 people to get arrested. 88 people to get arrested to represent those 88,000 people. All right?